All right, let's dive into the incredible story of music in the 20th century. I mean, we're talking about 100 years of absolutely mind-blowing change that completely flipped the script on what we listen to and, just as importantly, how we listen to it.
So, just think about this for a second. Music used to be this special, rare thing you had to actually go to a specific place to hear. Now, it's literally everywhere, all the time, right in our pockets. So, how on earth did that happen? Let's follow the journey and see how music made that incredible leap.
You know, the story of 20th century music is really the story of technology. It all starts with the phonograph, which for the first time ever let people listen to music at home. Then came the radio, beaming sounds to millions at once. After that, the electric guitar made everything louder. And finally, computers and digital tech changed the game completely.
Right at the beginning of the 1900s, you had all these composers who were getting, well, kind of bored. They felt like the old, traditional rules of music were holding them back. So they started experimenting, trying to create bold new sounds for a world that was changing faster than ever.
And what's so cool is that the most exciting new music wasn't coming from the old classical traditions in Europe. Nope. It was growing out of these uniquely American experiences and cultures, creating a sound that nobody on Earth had ever heard before.
Okay, let's get into the good stuff. We're going to look at three huge genres: ragtime, jazz, and the blues. These are so important because they basically built the foundation for almost all the popular music we listen to today.
The big deal with ragtime was its rhythm. It used this really cool trick called syncopation. Basically, instead of hitting the main, predictable beats, it puts the emphasis on the offbeats. It's what gives the music this jumpy, exciting energy that just makes you want to move.
So that energetic, syncopated feeling from ragtime, it directly led to the birth of jazz. Down in New Orleans, a city just buzzing with all kinds of different cultures, musicians took that rhythmic freedom and just ran with it, inventing a whole new art form.
And the secret ingredient that made jazz so special was improvisation. This is the art of making up music right there in the moment. Musicians would trade solos, playing whatever they felt, which gave the music this wild, spontaneous, and totally electric energy. You never knew what was coming next.
At the very same time, another deeply emotional and powerful style of music was taking shape in the Deep South. It was called the blues, and it was all about telling real stories, about hardship, about struggle, but also about hope.
So what makes the blues sound like the blues? Well, it often uses a specific 12-bar chord pattern, and it's all about raw, emotional singing and super personal lyrics. The influence of this music was absolutely massive. In fact, it's the direct foundation for what would become rock and roll.
Okay, so we've got these incredible new sounds. Now let's talk about how technology grabbed them and just blasted them across the entire country, changing everything in its path.
You have to understand, the radio wasn't just a gadget. It was a revolution. For the very first time, someone in a tiny town could hear the exact same song at the exact same time as someone in a huge city. This connected the whole nation and basically created the idea of a hit song.
And here's where it all connects. Rock and roll basically took the soul and the structure of the blues, but then it plugged in an electric guitar and cranked the volume way up. It swapped those stories of personal struggle for pure, high-energy fun and a whole new attitude of youth rebellion.
This explosive new sound completely took over the youth culture of the 1950s. It wasn't just music anymore. It was a full-blown movement that shaped everything from fashion and slang to the attitudes of an entire generation.
Now, as we move into the second half of the century, music starts to evolve again. It becomes something more than just entertainment. It transforms into this incredibly powerful voice for social change, for personal identity, and for protest.
I mean, the 1960s were a time of massive upheaval, and the music was right there in the middle of it. You had folk singers writing powerful songs about peace and justice. You had rock bands experimenting with wild new sounds. And the lyrics started asking these big philosophical questions about the world.
Right alongside all that, soul music delivered this incredible wave of emotion, becoming a powerful soundtrack for the civil rights movement. Then came funk, which stripped the music down to its absolute core, focusing everything on that irresistible groove from the bass and drums. It was music that was physically impossible not to dance to.
Then, in the late 1970s, something totally new began to bubble up in urban communities. All it took was 2 turntables, a microphone, and a focus on rhythm and poetry. This was the birth of hip-hop.
One of the key innovations that made hip-hop possible was sampling. DJs would take a tiny piece of an old record, like a cool drum beat or a horn stab, and loop it over and over to create a brand new beat. It was literally like making a collage, but with sound.
All right, to finish our journey, let's look at how computers and digital technology showed up and, you guessed it, changed everything all over again, from how we make music to how we share and listen to it.
If you look at the whole century, there's one really clear trend. Technology kept making music more and more accessible. From those first clunky records to the radio, and then to CDs, and finally digital files. Every single step made it easier for more people to hear more music.
And with all these new digital tools, the lines between genres started to totally blur. Artists weren't stuck in one style anymore. They began mixing everything together, so you'd hear rock guitars with electronic beats and sounds from all over the world, sometimes all in the same song.
So when you step back and look at the whole picture, what this century really did was take music from something you could maybe only hear in your own town and turn it into a global force, a universal language that connected the entire planet through sound.
And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. We've just seen how creativity and technology can change music in ways nobody could have ever predicted. So what's next? What do you think the next huge revolution in sound is going to be?